mishandled by authorities. Jennifer's body was discovered in Anthony Richards' arms, and he was covered in blood, though he said that he was in the other room when he heard the gunshot and he came rushing in. And there were a number of factors regarding her death that make Anthony's account of how she died unlikely, including the length of the gun found near her body. And this is Jennifer's father said she gave absolutely no indication that she would kill herself, saying, "We've never seen that in her, no signs, nothing, so it's hard to believe she did that to herself." But Jennifer's mom saying she talked to her just hours before the death and even made plans with her, and adding that the police didn't even interview her regarding her daughter's death or what she did that day. Then, of course, the medical examiner found signs of strangulation on Jennifer, which Anthony admitted he did earlier that day, saying Jennifer slapped him and he, quote, held her away by the neck and didn't know how hard he was squeezing. And somehow, after all of that, the lead investigator closed the case after just one day, not even waiting for the final autopsy report to come in. And then, looking at Susu's case, police never interviewed her family. They didn't ask for help in tracking down the suspect. They didn't interview key witnesses, and they never got a search warrant to collect evidence. Which, just for comparison's sake, a 10-year-old girl went missing about 3 months after Jennifer's death, and hundreds of volunteers turned out to search for her. And after 8 days, her body was discovered. Federal and state investigators swooped in to assist local police, finding the person responsible, using cell phone data, DNA evidence, search warrants, surveillance video, and the FBI to find 41-year-old Peter Wilson, who's now serving life in prison. And when you see that response, it shows that when they are prioritized, the deaths and disappearances of Indigenous women and girls can be quickly answered for. And understand, it's not just like one comparison. There are numerous examples, like just before Susu's death, a strangulation case took hold of the area. The authorities asked for the public's help in the case. You had local people raising thousands of dollars in reward money. They got the story statewide. Police ended up releasing a photo of a suspect. Someone tipped them off as to the identity, and the person responsible was arrested. And the victim in that case was a local fire department's pet husky. But Susu, a 30-year-old human woman and a mother, has yet to receive the same treatment. And while Alaska state troopers took over the case last year, they have yet to actually make the drive to the town where she died to investigate further. There was a spokesperson saying they plan to be there by the end of 2023, saying they are, quote, taking investigative steps with the goal of finding the person responsible for Susu's tragic death and holding that person responsible for their actions through the criminal justice system. And so with that, hopefully, yes, something does come from it. But at the same time, when you look at all the pieces, it's hard not to come to pretty clear conclusions as to why it has taken this long to even do the bare minimum. And even saying that isn't fair, because words are words and actions are actions, and we're waiting to see action. And then you got Andrew Tate back in the news because he's getting some wins and losses. The first being that he was actually just dealt another legal blow, with the Romanian court rejecting his and his brother's bid to have their assets returned, or with the assets in question being seized after the brothers were arrested nearly exactly 1 year ago. And the Associated Press saying they include 15 luxury cars like Rolls Royces, Ferraris, as well as designer watches and cash in multiple currencies, all totaling around $3.9 million. And notably that, as Romanian authorities have previously said, that those assets could be used to cover victim compensation and investigation costs. That is, if it was found that they were purchased with illicit funds. So with that, it does appear that the brothers' lawyers intend to appeal the decision. But this also coming as the Tate brothers secured a victory last week, with the two now reportedly allowed to travel freely within Romania, though they still need the court's approval ahead of time. And this is the brothers have their sights on traveling outside of Romania, with Vice reporting last week that they're trying to use their dying grandmother, who lives in the United States, as cause to leave the country. And actually with that, they've even asked fans to make videos on the subject. But for now, it's unclear if that's going to go anywhere, and also it's unclear what is going to happen with this. I know I just said it's almost been a year. It feels like it's been 3. And then, was the day before a giant scam? Or is it a case study in game developers over their head who then just proceeded to make bad decision after bad decision? That's what some are arguing about right now, as Fantastic, the developer behind the day before, announced that it was shutting down yesterday. And this, of course, amid accusations that the entire thing was a scam. So Fantastic released an early access version of the game on December 7th for anyone who wanted to play it for $40. And it was immediately obvious there was a problem, or rather many problems. But you might think, hey, this is early access. Of course, there's going to be some issues. But these were fundamental and monumental problems that led to accusations that they were misleading and scamming customers. Like, for example, what is this game? Well, it was heavily marketed and hyped up as an open world MMO survival game, right? Kind of a large sandbox where you can do whatever you want. But instead, you had customers getting what amounted to like an extraction shooter. That's pretty much the opposite of an open world MMO survival game. The game also lacked a wide range of features that players expected based on the trailers. And all that's without mentioning the bugs. So many bugs. They arguably made the game unplayable. And that's in addition to the accusations that they just copy-pasted assets from the Unreal Engine. With all that being fed to gamers, and just as a little cherry on top, there were massive server issues when the game launched, with Fantastic saying they were filling up too quickly, as well as there was a huge update including server and AI fixes coming in a few hours, with pretty much all their communications being used by players to bash the game, people demanding answers, people asking, is there an update coming that brings in the rest of the game you guys have been showing for 3 years, or and what about the part where it's an extraction game, not an MMO, and 99% of the buildings you can't even go inside of? You also saw relatively big names in the space ripping into them. Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers arguing that the biggest issue is that it was labeled as an MMO and it isn't, and adding,
why the hell would you not buy DayZ that has a game already built into it? Why would you just not buy The Division, or really any game, if you wanted that extraction shooter? why this stuff wasn't conveyed properly is disgusting. And this game, in my opinion, is in fact a scam. And the fact that they shuttered 4 days down the road, there needs to be a proper refund process for this.
And Asmon Gold, who played the game, saying,
And guys, I really got to say, this is embarrassing. It really is. It is sad. I really hope that obviously they'll be able to fix the game, and because it would be nice if the game was better. But at this point, I really don't know if it's going to happen. I'm going to be honest. I really don't know.
And it wasn't just individuals. You had established brands like IGN rating this thing a 1, which, I mean, I don't even know the last time they gave something a 1. And honestly, based off of that review, I think they wish that their number scale went lower. And all of that leading to the studio issuing an announcement yesterday. Today, we announced the closure of Fantastic Studio. Unfortunately, the day before has failed financially, and we lack the funds to continue. All income received is being used to pay off our debts to our partners. They then go on to talk about how much effort and time they put into the game, emphasizing that it's important to note that we didn't take any money from the public during the development of the day before, saying there were no pre-orders or crowdfunding campaigns, writing we worked tirelessly for 5 years, pouring our blood, sweat, and tears into the game. Though there they received backlash with accusations like, scam, y'all taking the money you made and are running from your scam. You false advertised the day before for years and put out a game nothing like what you advertised. We all know you aren't shutting down because you lack funds, but because you're taking the money and running. As well as responses like, this will go into the gaming history books and videos as one of the worst run scams of all time. Now, on the note of money, Fantastic made a follow-up tweet claiming that they're working with Steam to try and refund anyone who bought the game, regardless of how long they actually played it. So we'll have to see how that actually plays out. But, I mean, this whole situation, it will likely go down as a case study of just what not to do with the game, especially as people were so excited about this game. I mean, at one point, it was the most wishlist game on Steam. But instead, now it's gone from over 30,000 people playing this game, so excited to experience it, to just like 888 as of recording this video, and how many of those are just going through the game to be like, oh, how shit is this? I mean, it's now one of the worst rated games on Steam ever, with people making calls for it to be delisted. Well, of course, with the story, I'd love to know your thoughts. I'm left wondering, how long did they know that they were just barreling full speed at a wall? Did they see the wall? Did they know it was a wall? Like, did they think they had plot armor? Were they hoping for some like Deus Machina thing to save them at the last second? And so for me personally, that's what I'm gonna be keeping my eyes on. What stories come out of this? Because it's just crazy. And then, listen, y'all, it is normal and quite common to think about how to prevent hair loss or how to stimulate hair growth. I mean, heck, just taking better care of the hair that you have. And thanks to the sponsor of today's show, Keeps, they've got you covered. To date, Keeps has helped nearly 1 million men keep their hair and has over 4,500 5-star reviews with impressive before and after photos from real customers. And Keeps offers both FDA-approved hair loss treatment options as well as a 2-in-1 gel that combines both of those treatments. I mean, we're talking about 90% effective treatments that can increase your hair growth by up to 35%, with most seeing the difference in 6 months. Not to mention, Keeps also has a hair thickening shampoo, conditioner, and styling pomade for those looking to not only stimulate growth, but also take better care of that head of hair. And fantastically, you get all of these products delivered directly to your door, meaning no more going in person to the doctor's office for your prescription, saving you both valuable time and money. Remember, hair loss stops with Keeps. So to get your special offer, just go to keeps.com/DeFranco or click that link in the description. That's keeps.com/DeFranco. And then Epic Games just can't stop winning. I mean, on the front-facing side of this, they just launched 3 new games inside of their own incredibly successful game, with Fortnite announcing and then releasing Fortnite Festival, which is their version of Rock Band, Rocket Racing, which is surprisingly fun, and Lego Fortnite, which is like my brand new favorite thing to play with my son. But then also behind the scenes, they're racking up wins, with Epic Games just winning their lawsuit against Google's Play Store, with yesterday a jury ruling that Google violated antitrust laws and saying they did so to squeeze fees out of developers and limit competition. And all of this actually stems back to 2020, when you had Epic Games pushing back against that 30% cut that Apple and Google's app stores take. And they did that by tweaking Fortnite to allow players to pay Epic Games directly. So quickly, you had Apple and Google both giving Fortnite the boot, saying, hey, sorry, not sorry, you violated the policies, which I imagine is exactly what Epic expected, and so they filed a lawsuit against both of them. And their lawsuits focused on 2 main things. 1, the absolutely huge fees, and 2, these companies' complete control over the app stores on their phones. They amounted to an anti-competitive monopoly. But here's the thing, Epic Games doesn't always win, because in 2021, they actually lost in their suit against Apple, the judge ruling that Apple actually hadn't broken any laws. And earlier this year, an appeals court upheld the ruling, at least for the most part, rejecting all but one of Epic's claims. And in Epic Games' original case against Google, they actually brought that lawsuit along with the owner of Tinder in several states. And a very key thing is that Google opted for a jury trial. And while the others ended up settling with Google out of court, Epic marched forward. And in their case, they dove into the payments Google made to other companies who were considering building their own competing app stores. And so with that, pages upon pages of internal emails within Google were on display, with the judge even reprimanding Google for deleting chats that may have been relevant to the case, and actually instructing the jury to just assume that the deleted information was unfavorable for Google. And so over the month-long trial, both sides fought hard. Google's attorney arguing, hey, we have competition from Apple, right? We can't be a monopoly. monopoly. But then you had Epic's team arguing they did have a monopoly on how billions of people with Android phones get apps, and all of that leading to the jury deliberating for 3 hours, and the jury